World Network. Dr. Ruth Anderson and Sue Broome here for messages from your loved ones. This is such a fun opportunity for us. We come on once a month and we spend this time together and we talk about things related to the dying process and grief and the transition process and illness and anything leading up to dying. And then we connect in with you all. And we would ask if there's anybody that you would want to receive a message from, that you would put their name in the messages down below here on Facebook at Enlightened World Network. And then we'll see that message and then we'll just spend some time with you in the energy of your loved one. So we hope that you will join us and do that. And Sue, I'm going to write a little note here for that purpose. I'm glad you're here, Sue Broome.
Glad I'm here as well. It's always fun to spend time on our Messages Monday.
Yeah, okay. Hang on, folks, while we just take care of a little business here.
Yep, and I shared it out, so
Okay.
on my page.
Can you hear my chimes?
No, because mine are too loud. Mine are definitely going off right now.
Okay. Sue and I both have solar chimes. We actually have the same brand, but it's fun for me because they don't always just go off when there's solar happening. They'll go off at other times too. And it just feels like a little message from spirit to me when that happens.
It totally is. It's funny because on Sundays, Facebook Sundays, so connecting, with the angels and getting messages for people and stuff, and the chimes are totally quiet until I hit the record button, and then they start. Sometimes they're just crazy.
That's fun.
It is fun.
When I was wondering what we were going to be talking about today, I've got this new board up that's got pictures, of course, not photographs, because nobody's got photographs of the archangels, but pictures depicting the different archangels. And I just asked them, okay, who's going to help guide us here on what we're going to be talking about today? And Archangel Raphael kind of perked up a little bit, and I said, okay, so what do you want us to talk about? And what I heard was just speak from the heart. That sounds very much like a Raphael thing to say, doesn't
it? Yes, it does. It absolutely does.
Yeah. So we
and
will.
When you were saying that, I heard Archangel Ariel as well.
Lovely. She's also on my board. I love that. So Sue and I both have received some signs from folks that we have loved and lost, and sometimes they come in frequently, and other times it seems like it's a while in between times that we see things. And Sue, you had seen a sign of something recently?
It was actually my neighbor was telling me. She was telling me a story about she was out to dinner with some friends who they were talking about somebody that they knew when they were kids in high school or something, and it's like, so she's 20 years older than me. So, their high school was a while ago, and they were just talking, oh, I wonder what happened to them. And then they ran into somebody else like the next day and said, have you heard anything from, whatever this person's name was? They said, oh, he just passed away. And all of a sudden she gets this look on her face, and she was actually kind of excited. She goes, that was the time he died, the day that we were talking about him.
Wow. Wow.
And the reason I think it was such a big thing for her is because she's noticing things like this more and more. And so I think it's quite awesome. And it's just opening her up in many different ways.
Well, sometimes those signs come in things you hear, or things you think, or things you actually see. So hers came in kind of through something she heard or thought, right?
Uh-huh. Yep. And it was actually, she was having a conversation with people. So the other thing that is cool about that is now she will share with them that, hey, when we were talking about him, wondering how he was, that's the day he passed away. So it helps share the awareness.
Yeah, beautiful. Well, and I'm reminded that sometimes those messages come in before the person dies.
Mhm.
That happened with both my mom and my dad in my dream state. And, but it wasn't like I was woken up and then it was like, boom, right there. But a week before my mom passed, my mom came into my bed. She didn't. She was in, memory care down the street. So she didn't in physical, but she did energetically. She came into my room. She kissed me on the forehead and she said, I love you, Tweet. And she's the only one that has ever called me Tweet. I never could figure out why she called me that, but it was her. And I got, okay, it's a thank you and I love you and I'm gonna be going. And she did. She went that week. So yeah, it's just so fascinating. And I think if you're open to spirit and open to energy, I think you can catch those things easier than if you're just not open. Then I think you're going to miss stuff.
Well, and I also think that um, there must have been some that little special moment that the two of you needed to share for whatever reason, because not everyone gets, is visited by a loved one before they pass. But that also doesn't mean that there isn't a special connection. It's, just something that your two souls set up ahead of time. And I almost feel like it was a confirmation for you in the work that you do with other people who are getting close to transitioning.
Yeah. Yes, I do believe that.
Mhm.
Yeah. My dad had also come to me in that dream state a couple days before he died. And I was like, okay, I think there's something happening here. Yeah.
Yeah. I haven't ever had any, what I would consider to be visitation dreams from anybody.
Really. I'm
Yeah, I don't,
surprised. I'm surprised by that. I wonder if you just don't remember that they've happened or.
that could be. I mean, I've had, like, I remember a dream that my dad was in, but I wouldn't consider it to be a visitation dream. My brother Steve that passed a couple of years ago, he had over the years different dreams about. There's one with Grandma Lindy that he was telling me about, and I think with our brother Chris, who also passed. He had a couple, but Steve and Chris had a really special relationship. And he was really upset when Chris passed, and he was angry at my parents for not telling him that Chris was gonna die.
Yeah, that's a
I
hard
mean,
to get over.
well, and Steve was, so Chris was 4 when he died, so Steve would have been 5. So
Wow. So did they just think he wasn't old enough to be able to handle that news or?
They didn't, I think back then, because this was in the 60s, I just don't think that they talked
Hmm.
about it like we do, like a lot of people do now. Some people still don't. Some people just, they died, they're buried, and it's not that they don't love them. It's just that it, they don't, that they don't realize that the connection is still there. And so that was not something that I remember them talking about. It's like when my mom passed away, she passed away in the hospital. We didn't go into the hospital. We didn't find out that she had died until my dad came home and told us.
Wow. How old were you at that point? Remind me.
I was 13, so, and that was in the 70s. So again, they just didn't do that. I mean, like when my dad passed away, now that was in the 80s. I was in the hospital with him. I wasn't in the room. I wasn't supposed to be in the room though, because I was out. I had a backache or a stomach ache or something, so I was laying down when he actually passed. So I wasn't supposed to be with him, but I was at the hospital.
Yeah, I'm glad things have shifted in society. So
Mhm.
it's not such a clinical thing that people can't be around, children can't know about. I
Right.
think I think children are able to handle death a lot better than we give them credit for.
I think so too. Do you remember that show? What was it? It was the woman, she was a young woman, lived in a small town. She was a medium, ghost whisperer.
No, I don't know if I ever saw it.
Okay, it was a series. And she, a lot of the stories were based, you know who James Van Prague is?
Mhm.
Okay, he was like a producer or something for that show. So there was a lot, I'm sure a lot of experiences that she had, or a lot of the shows were based, on different readings that he had done. But the very, in the, how they show the, like how it all started kind of, she was a young girl at her grandmother's funeral. And she's sitting there and her grandmother is talking to her.
Mhm.
So it was like she she had that gift right from from a very young age. So of course nobody else believed it.
Right, of course. Right. They would think she was crazy. I wanted to share with you a couple of signs that I have gotten in the last week that I just out of the blue, I wasn't thinking about this person, but boom, there it was. So I use Siri, and actually, when I say it, it's probably going to go off on my phone. But I said something like, "Hey Siri, text my husband," and Siri said, "So you would like me to call Elaine Morrison, who's my mother?" And it just out of the blue. And I said, yes, yes, I would. So
So what happened when she called?
I thought, wow, isn't that a cool sign?
Yeah, that really, that is.
Yeah. And then the other one, my daughter had a birthday the other day, and I couldn't go to the bakery to pick up the cake. So she went to the bakery to pick up the cake. She sent me a photo of her cake and the cake right next to it. They're the only cakes in the cooler. And there's my daughter's cake. And then there's a birthday cake right next to it that says, Happy Birthday, Sylvia. And Sylvia was my dearest friend for 26 years before she died of cancer. She adored the girls. Mia's named after her. And there it was. And so my daughter sent me the picture and she goes, Oh, it's a reminder from Sylvia. So easy and so unexpected.
Well, and it was a nice birthday wish for your daughter from Sylvia that came, yes, totally unexpected. That's the that's the awesomeness of the spirit world.
Um,
Now, I don't think it was from a loved one. However, I'm gonna share this anyway. Yesterday, I was out on the little patio. I had my laptop in hand. I was answering an email from a friend. And all of a sudden, I could tell that there was a Hummer and he was right there. Because they like to sit in the tree that's out there, even though there's like no, no flowers on it. And I told him, I said, the flowers are over there. Well, he came and he was within 2 feet of me and, was there for a minute. And then he went up to the tree and it's like, I think he was just teasing me, just to be a smarty pants.
One of my friends who used to garden a lot, Jeannie, she comes as a hummingbird. And her artwork, she had hummingbirds so often in her artwork. It really was kind of a symbol for her in life. And we were, I was one of her executors of her estate. And so I was standing in her backyard talking with some of our friends about, she had all this art stuff in the backyard and what were we going to do with it? And this hummingbird just came and just hovered right there with us and was like, well, there's Jeannie. It, we had no question. Like, there she is. Yeah.
They're funny. I've had that. There was one day when I was walking, and this was a couple of years ago, and I'm on the sidewalk, just walking along, and there's a Hummer right in front of my face. It's like, well, hello there.
Oh, that is very sweet.
Yeah,
Very sweet.
Hummers are bringers of joy, I think, is what the hummingbird stands for.
So on a different topic, I've been trying to figure stuff out on my iCloud and because I thought I had lost all this information. Well, so I was re-digging stuff up and I found the journal that I kept as my dad was dying. And I read through all of it and there's so much I didn't remember. And one of the things I didn't remember, my sister was a nurse for 40 years. And we were together with him his last couple days and as he passed, but she said, I can't be the one to give him morphine. She said, my whole career has been trying to keep people alive. And she said, the morphine won't kill him. I know that, but it'll slow his respiration and his breathing, and it will lead to a sooner death than, if he were left to struggle for breath. And I said, apparently, I said, not a problem, I can do it. And apparently, I gave it to him 3 different times. She never did. And I completely forgot that.
Mhm.
But I also remembered reading through it. There were beings up I couldn't see them, I could feel them up in the upper right corner of the room. I could tell when there were more, as he got closer to passing. And then when he died, about 2 minutes after, he was like, yeah, he's gone. The beans were gone. It was like 2 minutes afterwards, but I felt their presence so strongly. And so it was interesting to go back and read all that we went through and the conversations that took place and the timing of things. And I would just say to anybody who's listening now or after the fact, if you are walking somebody through the transition process, take notes because it might be important for you someday to go back and read through that. Yeah.
It absolutely might. Yeah. I was with a few people in hospice who passed away, but of course I didn't have the connection like as with a parent. And what this one lady, I swear she just wanted somebody in the room.
Sure. Yeah.
She had no family. I got there and it was called vigil. So I was a volunteer and you'd sit with a person for 4 hours until the next person came. And the vigil was considered what they thought was going to be the last 48 hours of the person breathing. And I walked in the room and I don't even think the second hand moved to, 10 seconds. It's like, but I mean, I knew when the step in, she was still there and then she was gone.
Wow.
Huh? Yeah, she just wanted somebody there. And she didn't have any family, so she didn't care who it
Yeah. Right.
was.
Just somebody. Yeah,
Mhm.
that's so interesting. My dad was not a demonstrative, physically demonstrative person. He was with my mom. They were always holding hands. I mean, it was just the sweetest thing. They'd been married like 65 years, always holding hands, but not with us. I mean, I'm not sure we even mattered in the big scheme of things. My mom mattered, but not
Mhm.
so sure that we did. But his last night, my sister, I finally went home. I was like, oh, I've got kids. I'm just exhausted. So I went home around 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and my sister showed up. So we kind of, changing of the guards. And then she called me at around 7 and she said, Dad asked me to stay. And I went, okay. I'm like, I'm on heightened alert. Okay. Because he wants somebody to hold his hand. I said, I'm coming. So I just went, okay, this is major. And he died 5, 6 hours later. So my dad never asked for anybody to hold his hand, but he didn't want to be alone either.
Yeah. I had so now, and you and your sister were both with him in the room.
Yeah.
So I have a friend who, her and her sister were spending time with their mom. And they were with her either together or one of them, back and forth, back and forth. And she was somebody that didn't want anybody around because they had left just for, you know, get something to eat, or there was only one there and they had to go to the bathroom, something. And that's when she left.
I think that's interesting. And how you feel about it doesn't matter. Because it has nothing to do with you and what you want. It's all their timing and what they want.
Mhm.
That is interesting.
Well, and that's a good point because it is all about them. It's their journey. They're transitioning from this life to the next. And yes, you're here to assist them in whatever that means for each of you, but it ain't about you.
Yeah, it's not. My dad was very verbal up until probably about the last half hour before he passed. And he would tell me things that he was seeing. And I remember at one particular point, I won't even go into that one. At one particular point, he asked me how to get the thing unwrapped from around his waist. And it was like the only thing I could come up with was like he was trying to detach his soul from his body, and it was like hooked on the root chakra, right? He just couldn't unhook it. It was fascinating to hear him ask that.
Yeah, it's amazing. I was just reading, there's a book, it's called Angelic Attendants by Julie Ryan.
Yes, I read that.
Okay, in the very first part where she's talking about, I think it was her grandmother. she was with. And she had, in her training, she had been taught that there was, she called it like a bubble over their head as they were in the dying process. And she saw that with her grandmother, but she disregarded it because she says, well, she's doing so well, she ate, and she kind of listed off all the stuff she ate, and she even had a full cup of coffee. She goes, and then she died a couple hours later. She goes, I'm not ever gonna discount what I see. Yeah.
Right, my dad ate 3 meals that day. Although my dad was not one to miss a meal, mind you. My dad loved food, but yeah, he ate 3 meals that day. I was like, I don't think there's any typicals,
Mm-mm. No, everybody is different. I mean, and there's a lot of people that are in comatose. That's the label that they put on it. I don't know that that's necessarily what it is, because they still hear what's going on. I mean, don't ever doubt that they can hear. On different TV programs, you hear somebody ask the doctor, well, how are they doing? Oh, it's gonna be quick now, and it's like, go say that someplace else. Don't be saying it in the room with the person. It's kind of like disregarding what's going on.
Right.
Yeah, they can still hear.
I remember as my dad was passing, we called hospice and the gal showed up, and we sort of almost didn't want her to show up because we knew that our dad was trying so desperately to die. I mean, he said things like, please turn off the oxygen in the room. He had oxygen for a couple days. Please turn off the oxygen in the room because there's extra oxygen in the air and I don't want it. Please help me lay down. So what did he say? Something like, so there's less less space for oxygen in my lungs, right? He asked us to, hi Shiraz, if there's somebody that you would like to receive a message from, please put their name in the messages. We're glad that you're here with us. He had asked us to smother him with a pillow, said no, won't do that. He asked for more morphine. He just was trying to make it happen sooner. Rosalind, this is messages from your loved ones. All right, Rosalind, yay, Rosalind and Shiraz. Okay. So Rosalind got her request in first, so we'll do that, and then we'll get to you, Shiraz. So Rosalind wants to know if there's a message from her mother, Linda. I'm so glad y'all are here.
I started seeing flowers right away.
Daffodils.
Yeah, I just got, it's like, I don't know, and it wasn't even a distinct, it was just flowers. So, yeah, flowers. I feel your love every day. And I feel like I have to say, I feel your love expand every day as well. It feels like, Miss Rosalind, when you're talking about her, when she comes to mind, it's like there's the heart connection strengthens. And, like the beams of light, they get brighter and more beams come through when you talk with her, when you think about her, when you do things that honor her. And I mean honor her as in remembering her when she was here. And there go the chimes. And so there's an expansion. She has helped you expand your heart in many ways. And you have also helped her expand hers. Oh, that's pretty cool.
That's beautiful. I got daffodils right away, yellow daffodils. And as I was focusing in on, oh, that's fun. There's, aw, I wish you could all see this cloud thing that's outside my window right now. It's, I don't think I have to, I'm going to take a picture. It's like Christ on the cross with this trail going down. It's like so interesting. Okay, I don't know if you can see it. Let me get it where maybe you can see it. So Christ on the cross with that swirly tail coming down.
And it's funny because I wouldn't have seen what you saw. I see it as a kite. With
Oh,
a
yeah.
tail. Isn't that funny?
I'm going with Christ on the cross. That's what came to my head. Interesting. So sitting with the daffodil, I started smelling food cooking. I mean, just like strong smelling of food cooking. So it was like I was sitting in this comfortable kitchen and I can see the daffodil in the vase. And it's not even necessarily a vase, but like mason jar. I mean, what I'm getting is like not pretentious, not fancy, just comfortable. So like the daffodils, like two in a mason jar, and your mom cooking, but it's not fancy food. It's almost like casserole food. It's just comfortable, just comfortable. Okay, and Rosalind said she loved to garden. Yeah, and Rosalind said, thank you, Sue and Ruth and Mom. Yeah, lovely. It's a lovely feeling, Rosalind. Please let me know if the cooking means something to you or the feeling of comfort when you were with her. Yeah, because that came in so strong. So I will be curious to know. And Shiraz, okay, Shiraz said her father, Kurshid Desai, Desai, I'm guessing is how you say that. He passed away in 2010 in May. He was in Mumbai and she was in Chandigarh, maybe is that how you say it, when he passed away so suddenly. Yeah.
And what I get right away is it's a pipe, like pipe tobacco smell. But then also like, and it's almost like these two are connected, which would make no sense to me, my logical brain, as spices. I don't think tobacco is ever used as a spice, but tobacco I know is in different vegetables that we eat, or not tobacco. Yeah, is it the tobacco?
Tobacco's in the vegetables we eat?
What is it? Because tobacco, like in cigarettes, tobacco, it's not like it creates something else. Something that, because like if you had a patch on it, it's a tobacco patch, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll double check, but I'm sure that's what's in a lot of different vegetables that we eat. That I bet you've eaten this week. All right, let me see. See what we got. Feel my presence. It feels like he's got a very strong presence, but in a subtle way. So it's almost like if he enters the room and his presence is known, but he's not standing there like, notice me, notice me, notice me. He just has a very strong presence. And I think that's why the tobacco and the spices, because those are there in their subtle ways. So feel my presence. And I think that it's like Shiraz, that if you close your eyes and allow yourself to get in a space, you can almost feel like him brushing the top of your hand or your shoulder. It's like his presence, you can almost literally feel his presence physically.
He came in very strong for me. And it was fascinating because not only did I feel him, I started hearing all these voices. Like it was a dinner and there were all these voices in the room and I could hear your dad laugh and he wasn't going along with what Sue said. He wasn't the leader in the room, look at me, but he has influence and everybody seems to know him and everybody seems to like him. And I think that the tobacco smell, it's like comfortable. 'Cause like we're sitting around after dinner and that's part of the ritual or part of the time together is the tobacco. Very well loved, your father. Now, it's interesting because sometimes I don't know if what we're seeing is a glimpse to the past or the glimpse of what is right now. And I do believe in the ethereal realm, we get to create, kind of like we do here, we get to create what our heaven is going to be like. And I think there's a lot of people in your dad's heaven. And I think when it's time for you to pass, it's going to be, I'm just going to go join this big party because there's all these people already there with my dad. Yeah. Interesting. Shiraz, let us know how any of that resonated with you.
It's curious.
Yeah. Rosalind said her mother loved to cook and offered food for people to eat. Yeah. So what do you think of that concept of folks creating their own reality in the ethereal realm?
So like, um, like me being sitting here imagining that this is what it's going to be like. Is that what you mean?
No, so I read a book, several books by Ward Barkafer, whose wife Suzanne passed away, and then come back to him at night and tell him what it was like over there. And she said, folks that love to golf are golfing. Folks that love to fish are fishing. If you want, acreage with at a mountain, you can have that. If you want to take classes, you can take classes, that kind of thing, creating that reality.
I think that's what I was meaning. So I must not have said it exactly
Right.
quite right, but
Yeah.
there's a woman, Cat, can't remember what her name is. She's got pink hair, but she's written several books and it's basically about heaven and how she'll see it when with someone who has transitioned is whatever they wanted to create in heaven has been created. So yes, if you like to golf, if you like to, swim, if you want to swim in chocolate, if you want to, dance with the butterflies, it's whatever they want is what they create. And that's how she sees it. So if she tunes into a certain person, she'll see their version of heaven.
That's cool.
Mhm.
I love that.
Yeah.
Okay. Kimberly, if there's somebody that you would like to receive a message from, please put the name in the chat. Shiraz shared, yes, he was well loved. He was tall and heavy built, but quiet.
Mhm.
Yep. Did not enjoy tobacco at all, but yes, he liked using tobacco, which is an aftershave.
Oh, that's funny.
That is funny. He was very popular with people. I see that he was very popular with people. That's clearly what came through. Well loved. Absolutely.
Well, and here's the clarification. It's not tobacco that's in vegetables, it's the nicotine.
Ah, okay.
Nicotine is in cauliflower, eggplant, potato peel, potato pulp, potatoes, green tomatoes, pureed tomatoes, ripe tomatoes.
All in, oh, interesting.
Yeah,
Huh. Okay, who knew? Who
I
knew?
know. It's pretty amazing.
Okay, Kim, you always have so much information. Okay, Kimberly Wilkinson would love to hear from Auntie Elizabeth. Aw, aw. Just the fact you call her Auntie Elizabeth, so sweet.
I'm
Love that.
seeing doilies.
I'm seeing dolls.
Isn't that funny? Doilies and dolls.
Dolls. Hmm. Hmm. And you're welcome, Shiraz. Thank you for sharing your father with us.
I want you to be happy. I feel like Kimberly and Auntie Elizabeth were little girls together in a past life. And that connection is carried through in this lifetime. And there's so much love that is there. She certainly doesn't want you to be sad.
Mm-mm.
And there's different signs that she sends you that are there almost every single day. And I feel like multiple times in a day where she shows up in different ways and I almost get the feeling that when you notice them, notice what's going on in your mind and your thoughts and make that connection. Because there is a connection there that you might not be noticing. So almost like keep a little journal, but she wants you to be happy. And there's such a strong connection, such a heartfelt, which is not a word that I use, but
Right.
it's heartfelt connection with her.
You and Auntie Elizabeth, this is not your first go around. As Sue said, she could see you all in a past life. And the first thing I saw was a different lifetime where she was the mother, you were the daughter. And then I saw another lifetime and this was the words that I heard, sisters of marrying age. So that tells you that was a ways back, sisters of marrying age. And it looks like she was maybe a couple years older than you. You have been with Elizabeth, Auntie Elizabeth, so many times. She's never left you. I heard the words, I will wait for her to pass. She hasn't left. She's right there with you. Sue said she's leaving you signs all the time. You two are truly soul sisters. Truly soul sisters.
Mhm.
Yeah. Her learnings in this lifetime were done. Clearly yours aren't. Yours aren't. And you guys will be back together again. We don't see that all that often, Sue, where you can see so many different lifetimes with someone.
Yeah, it comes up, it's come up a few times, but Yeah, not all the time. And I know some people think, oh, he's my soulmate. It's like, yeah, might have been for this lifetime.
right,
But not necessarily over and over and over again like this.
right.
Mhm.
Yeah. You know, when you find soul sisters in this lifetime, it means so much.
Mhm.
I don't know how to describe it, Sue. I feel like you're one of my soul sisters.
Mhm.
And so we've known each other for, I think, 6 years maybe now, from the first radio shows that we were on the same network. Because Enlightened World Network has been in place for 5 years now. And that radio show was 1 or 2 years before that. So,
Yeah, though I don't know that I really knew you when we were each doing because we were kind of each doing our own thing. And I don't know that we actually had a conversation until,
oh,
until after that.
yeah. But Spirit put us together back then, so we would come together 2 years
Right.
later. I honestly do believe that.
Yep. Yep, I believe that too, but I think that it was because I still remember when I'm hearing that you're leaving and we're gonna do the Enlightened World, or maybe you hadn't left, but I was in Green Valley. And this month is 6 years since I've been here.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, at least 6 years then. Yeah. But when you find those people in this lifetime that you know is a real soul sister,
mhm,
it's so easy to be in conversation with them.
mhm.
And it doesn't matter if you don't talk to them for a month. It's like you never left them and you trust them because you've been through stuff before, whether you even know what it is, you've got those life experiences with that person. That's who Auntie Elizabeth is for you. Yeah. And she feels auntie in music.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Mm, yeah, that's beautiful.
You know, it's so fun when we get to feel your loved ones, Shiraz's dad, Auntie Elizabeth, and who else did we talk to? Rosalind. Yeah, Rosalind's mom.
Mom,
It's such a pleasure for us to get to sit in that energetic space with you all because there's always so much love there.
mhm.
And it's such a good reminder to us that when our loved ones transition, they really don't go that far. They haven't forgot about us. They're still connected to us. They're still loving us. They're still supporting us. So thank you. We get those reminders. Joanne, if you would like a message from a loved one, put their name in the messages, and then you'll be our last one for the day. She said, "Good afternoon." So while Joanne is thinking about that, so it's always interesting to me because we start at the top of the hour and people join us half an hour later. So maybe we need to back up half an hour later and just start on the half hour. Maybe people will show up sooner.
Well, and a lot of people had to change their time today, so that might have messed some people up too, because I know yesterday on Facebook Live, it was a lot less than typical. And it seemed like there was a couple else, and it's like, oh wait, I want a card, I want a card.
Yeah,
Sorry,
yeah.
I'm done.
The time change always messes folks up. Okay, so Joanne, her dad, Joseph Cook, passed in 1985. And Kimberly, you're welcome. You're welcome. Okay, Joanne, I am smelling barbecue.
You know, I have that in my head, a big old chef's hat with an apron. Out at the barbecue. Well, he's taking his sweet time and showing which card. That's so funny when that happens.
Mhm.
I think he likes to make an entrance. He wants to make sure everybody's paying attention. All right, let's see. I watch over you always.
Oh my gosh. Okay. You talk and then I'll share with you what I just wrote down.
Oh, that's a total dad thing, as in, you know, a dad is always a dad. So I'll share a story about a friend of mine's dad. When I first moved to Arizona, I would see 426. He was born in that was his birthday, April 1926. So I would see 426, honest God, 3 and 4 times a day. I'm like, what is up with Russell? It's like, and, and so I was talking to the friend of mine. She goes, he always liked you. He's just checking in on you, making sure that everything's fine. And the people, kitty corner right across the street, their license plate had a 426 in it.
Oh, goodness.
So it's no matter where you are, no matter what you are doing, your dad is watching over you, and because he loves you, he's so very proud of you. And I know that kind of sounds like a cliche, but it's what I it's what I feel, that I think you're not told enough, and maybe he didn't say it enough, that he is proud of you and he does love you and he watches over you always.
What I got was absolutely barbecue smell right off the bat. And it was like beef and ribs. It wasn't even like fish and chicken. It was like beef, right? Like manly beef. And I saw your dad at the barbecue, looking over the barbecue, watching you playing in the grass and like watching the neighbor kids playing in the grass and being so proud of you. So that just is so sweet too, that you saw that same thing, that watching over you. And maybe there weren't that many things said about how proud he was, but he clearly was,
Mhm.
clearly was. And that protective watching over you was happening, whether you knew that or not.
Mhm. That's funny.
Well, and sometimes that watching over is being done in spirit because I remember one that we had done once too, where we could see how like eagle-eye protective the parent was, but they didn't even live in the same house. But it didn't mean that there wasn't that energetic connection of watching over you.
Mhm.
Yeah. All
Yeah.
right. Joanne, I would just love to know if any of that rings true for you, but that's what we experienced here.
And it's interesting because dads watching over their daughters is much different than watching over a son, or watching over, you know, a mom watching over either kids. Or something special about a dad watching over his little girl.
Yeah. Yep.
Mhm.
Yeah, I feel my dad watching over me sometimes. Absolutely. And he passed, I don't know how many years ago now, but yeah, I still feel that connection.
Yep. I had a friend of mine who doesn't believe in any of this. She told me, and this was 25 years ago, she had a dream. And her dad, I think he died when she was pretty young, and she was the only girl out of like 10 kids or something. And there wasn't much to the dream other than he, looked in the door to see what was going on, or somehow he looked at, what was going on, and that was it. And I'm like, oh my gosh, he was just checking in on you. That was totally a visitation dream. I've never had one of those.
Yeah. So Joanne said, thank you. I miss my dad every day. Anytime I'm woken out of my sleep suddenly, I always find myself yelling out for him. I've always felt my waking was me disconnecting from in, like we walk together while I'm sleeping. Oh, so out on the astral. So you are connecting with your dad out in the astral. And then when you wake up, you have to say goodbye all over again, I think is what she's explaining there.
Hmm.
I'll tell you guys an interesting thing, and then we're going to get off here. We do meditations every day here on Enlightened World Network, and Terry, Angel, and I together run them twice a week. So Sunday and Wednesdays is the days we do. And in meditation, the spirit guides will take us to places to see things. And I cannot tell you how many times folks who have been in body and have transitioned join us. So I truly believe that those folks that we have loved and lost are able to come join us in meditation places. So if you want to feel that connection to them, meditate, because they can meet you places. And Joanne said yes, out on the astral. Yeah. That's so sweet, Joanne. What a precious gift that you get to spend time with your dad out on the astral.
Yeah, it absolutely is.
Yeah. All right, friends, that's all of our time for today. Thank you for joining us. We're so glad that you did. Sue Broome, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you. Next time is April 14.
Okay, looking forward to it. All right, friends, take good care. God bless. We'll